In the meantime, we're following the latest out of Minneapolis, where closing arguments they're underway in the Derek Chauvin murder trial. Prosecution is speaking now. The defense expected to begin their final arguments immediately after. We will bring that to you live.
In the meantime, there is a growing debate happening now about policing in our country at this as this trial wraps up. CNN anchor Chris Cuomo causing another dust-up with some pretty shocking commentary about gun violence. Listen.
You know what the answer is? You really do. You don't like it. I don't like it. It scares me. Shootings, gun laws, access to weapons. Oh, I know when they'll change. Your kids start getting killed. White people's kids start getting killed. Smoking that doobie that's actually legal probably in your state now, but they don't know what it was. And then the kid runs and it pop, 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 pop. Cop was justified. Why'd you run? Oh, he had a baseball game tonight. Huh. A white kid. Oh, big family. That house over there. Those start piling up. What is going on with these police?
All right, want to get reaction from our panelist. Hal Lambert's going to start us off, founder and CEO of Point Bridge Capital and former national finance chair for Ted Cruz. Also, Jennifer Kearns, host of All American Radio, publisher for All American News. And Dino Scaros also with us. He's a presidential historian, immigration attorney, and author of this book here, Trumped Up Charges. Donald Trump Didn't Say Mexicans Are Rapists and Criminals, and 9 Other Lies About Him Exposed. Okay, welcome everyone to the program here. Hal Lambert, we'll just start with your top line thoughts to the comments made by Chris Cuomo there.
Completely irresponsible, a complete false narrative. Once again, bashing the police as though they're just indiscriminately shooting people, bringing race into it, inflaming racial tensions. The typical CNN move, and it's really, really bad for the country. And look, these shootings are obviously a problem. But, you look out and as an example, you had a 13-year-old get shot. There's a question about when he dropped the gun and all of those things. But why was a 13-year-old out at 3 in the morning with a handgun running around with what looks to be gang members? There's not a discussion around that. And that's a parenting issue. And that's a real problem. That's a very serious problem in the country. But that's not what we're focused on. We're focused on attacking the police, bringing racism into it and claiming racism. And now we're talking about shooting white kids as the only solution. It's so troubling and it's really disturbing.
And that was in his opening monologue there on CNN. Jen Kearns, your thoughts on it?
Well, we've seen over the last year that, Chris Cuomo has quite a vivid imagination, as does his brother. Look, this is the incitement of the killing of the youth of our country. It doesn't matter if they're black, white, Hispanic. You heard him there say that this really won't get solved, and he wants it to get solved, which means he wants the youth of our country to get injured and possibly killed in this country. Look, this is something that CNN should have to answer for. Unfortunately, given the media culture of today, they won't. Here's the sad narrative, and that is most of the increase in violence over the last year has happened in the big blue states, in the big blue cities, which are mostly Democrat run and also have mostly Democrat and minority constituents. You look at cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York City, the crime that's happening there is not hitting the white folks, as Chris Cuomo would have you believe. It's actually hitting the minority communities the hardest, and the statistics back it up.
Well, when Chris Cuomo had mentioned the only thing that's going to start the conversation around police reform is this idea that white people are starting to get shot, I think about the police reform bill that were actually put forward by Senator Tim Scott. He's a Republican, a black Republican man here. He wanted to get this legislation out there, and yet it was filibustered. It was dismissed by Democrats. I mean, Dino, people are trying to talk about police reform, and yet that was shut down, at least from a GOP side.
Absolutely, because it's not what the Democrats are focusing on, unfortunately. And the problem is the little girl who was shot and killed at the McDonald's. That's the problem. The problem is not police shooting unarmed civilians, because when you really look at the numbers and you look at the number of unarmed civilians who are questioned and do not resist arrest, do not talk back. Just say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Hands are up, that's it. The number of those incidents that involve fatalities are so minuscule, and that is not the problem. The problem is we need more police, and we need community policing and more of it. I mean, when you get parents, they're in charge of the house. They're in charge of their kids. They don't go out and grab random parents and say, can you get my kids to eat lunch? So we don't need that kind of system. We need more respect for the police. We need kids to grow up with men and women in blue being the good guys, and that will solve the problem. The problem is crime on crime by civilians, not by police.
Okay, got to leave it at that. Jennifer Kearns, Dino Scaros, Hal Lambert, please stick around. We've actually got some more to talk to you about.